Welcome back, Video Game Voter Vanguard. It's your boy P City Substance. We're here with another episode of WEBISODE Wednesdays. Here on WEBISODE Wednesdays, we utilize the World Wide Web, the internet, to add to our collection, whether that be games, consoles, collectibles, etc. You name it. So, I happen to be searching online. A couple pieces to my collection, or my initial thought of what I wanted in my collection is nearly complete. It's a couple pieces missing. One of them, what we're about to talk about now, that I picked up. So, of course, I'm constantly on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Offer Up, and Let Go. Those are my favorites. I was searching and came across a gentleman that had quite a few things listed on Craigslist. Yeah, he was on Craigslist. I was able to broker a deal for $100. So we're only going to talk about a portion of the purchase. So that purchase that I got from that gentleman was a Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo was a very big part of my childhood. Like I said, Nintendo was a very, very intricate part of my childhood. That's what I mostly remember. My first console was a Game Boy, next being Nintendo, Super Nintendo. I'm pretty sure, as a matter of fact, I have owned every Nintendo system ever released, to my knowledge, here in North America. So a little bit of info about the Super Nintendo. It came out in the 16-bit era. It was released in 1990 in Japan, 91 in South Korea, North America in 91 and 92. It was released in Europe and Australia, and 93 in South Africa. I don't know why there were different release dates in different countries. I couldn't tell you. That makes no sense. Over in Japan, the Super Nintendo, or the Super NES as it's called sometimes, is known as the Super Famicom. If you go to any type of con or gaming convention, you will see a lot of Super Famicom consoles available, also that you can buy online, and some of them, I think they are mods that can be made to your Super Nintendo so you can play Famicom and Super Famicom games on your SNES. So in South Korea, strangely enough, it was known as the Super Cowboy. I have no idea where Nintendo got that name from, but to each his own. That's kind of funny. Super Cowboy. It was distributed by Hyundai Electronics. I don't know if Hyundai is in direct relation to cars. Probably so, because it is a foreign vehicle from over in Japan. So probably. To date, is the best-selling 16-bit system. It was popular well into the 32-bit era, especially most notably, which kept it popular in the 32-bit era, was the release of Donkey Kong Country. Super Nintendo or Nintendo had a very good relationship with Rare, and one of the better games that they created was Donkey Kong Country. Up until 2003, when the Super Nintendo was discontinued, sold 49.1 million copies up until that point. And in the current time, there are still homebrew production companies that are producing games for the Super Nintendo. So still brand new content being released by these independent companies that are producing these games. And at the time of release, the cost was $199. It was bundled with Super Mario World. Also at the time of release, there were a couple other launch titles available. F-Zero, Pilot Wings, SimCity, and Gradius 3. The original Super Nintendo console, which I got here, this is what came with my purchase. You can see here, let me back it up so I get out the glare. It's a little crack over here in this area here, a little crack on the case in here. Maybe I can look for another case. If you notice, any collectors out there will automatically notice that with a lot of these consoles that were like the grayish in color, they tend to fade and kind of turn into this tan color here. And the casing may be a little cracked because it's well over probably closing in on 30 years old. So you got this tan discoloration going on here, but it still functions properly, still operates properly. See a little chip here. Still functions, so maybe I'll look for one with a new case. I mean, I got this bundled with some other stuff, so I don't think that I paid too much in the grand scheme of things if I was to break everything down individually. But I would say typically they go it kind of on the higher end now, especially with the release of Super Nintendo Classic. These prices have skyrocketed on these Super Nintendos as well as the Nintendo. So what I would say in one that isn't discolored, we always want to try to aim to basically negotiate our prices. So something discolored like this, I probably wouldn't pay over $50 for it. I just wouldn't. Maybe 40, maybe the maximum I would pay for one with discoloration. And for one that's in pretty mint condition, meaning it's still that original gray, I would probably, I guess it's your choice at that point. And I would say it's probably worth it, but I probably wouldn't do no more than outside the box, $100. Still in box, the prices can vary. Of course, they're skyrocketing at that point, being complete in box. So this is my Super Nintendo console that I picked up. Happy with it. Happy that I have it added to the collection. It actually came with, the gentleman gave me this controller. It's an SN program pad. I guess you can program and set it. It's like has turbo functions available, so you guys can see that. Pretty cool. Like I said, it still plays. So I would like to have an original controller, so I'm gonna be on the hunt for that soon. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad I got that added to the collection. That was an important piece to what I initially envisioned for my game collection. Of course, the thoughts have well expanded out of that box since back then, since I wanted that. As you can see one of my favorite games, the only game I have currently on the SNES right now, Super Mario World. You're going to see some of that footage playing probably prior to this point, but you'll see it during the video. So that's going to be it for this episode of WEBISODE Wednesdays. We added Super Nintendo console to the collection. I'm very excited and happy about that. Don't forget, I want to thank all my subscribers. New subscribers, we added like 5 this week to the Video Game Voting Vanguard. Welcome aboard. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate this continued support. I ask that you continue support. Let's step it up. I'm challenging you guys. If you haven't, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, turn the notifications on. Comment below if you have Super Nintendo or any thoughts that you have about any of the videos. Comment below. Let me know what you guys are thinking, what's on your mind, for any future content that you would like me to do or stream some gameplay, what have you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, turn on notifications. Also, while you're on the go, the Video Game Voting Podcast, which is the audio from each episode, is available on all podcast platforms right now. And when you go on that platform, don't forget to rate. The higher you rate it, the higher it moves up, especially on Apple iTunes. When you give me a good rating, it boosts us up. We get closer to the front page, and it gets promoted. And once it's promoted on iTunes, it also promotes on Spotify, and it trickles it like a domino effect onto the other podcast platforms. So I would definitely appreciate that. Let's get these subscribers up. Let's get the likes up. Let's get this Video Game Voting Vanguard built up. So I appreciate you guys. We're going to end the episode on that note. This has been another episode of WEBISODE Wednesdays. It's your boy P City Substance, and this is the Video Game Voting.